Where have you been? Nobody knows me like you do. Nobody gonna love me. Hello, everybody. Hi. Yeah, I am not gonna lie. I'm taking my sweet precious time, child. Because I did not have everything together the way I should have. You know I would. But that's okay. That's alright. Okay. Hi. Okay. Hello, Robbie. Hi, Crystal. Hi. Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's doing great. I hope that everyone is having an amazing evening. I hope that you're having a great Wednesday. Girl, whatever day it is. Whatever day it is, I hope that it's great. Okay? Is what I'm trying to say. Let's see how this one. Hey, King. Today was okay. Today wasn't the greatest, but it was okay. It was fine. It was perfectly fine, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I like that picture, but then I kind of don't at the same time because I have such a big head. Let's see if I can. I love that one though. Okay. How's this one going? I like it. It's okay. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with that. I like that one. Here's the thing. I hate the top she wore in that episode, but she herself looked amazing. Like, whoever styled Alyssa that day, they ate. They absolutely ate with this makeup. Whoever did her hair, it was cute. Whoever did the makeup, whoever did the face. Here's the thing about like the top she has on in this episode. Like, it's not that it's horrible. Like, I like it in like a frilly kind of like extra kind of way, but I just don't like it, I think, as a piece. Hey, Brittany. I think just as a piece, I don't like it. But then it works for her. And then, like, I don't know. Y'all get what I'm trying to say. Y'all get what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to find something to put this on because it's too close to my stupid face. It's too close to my stupid face. And you can't really see the lady. We may just have to do like this. We may just have to improvise. It may just have to be okay. Because if you can't tell who that is, then baby, did you watch the show? Hello, Meandra. Hi, Envy. I hope that y'all had a great day today. And I'm so glad to see y'all. I'm so glad y'all are here. I've been excited about this one. Like I said, how does this work? Because I know my big fat face is in front of this lady. And y'all may not be able to see her. I don't know if this is good enough for what we're trying to do. But I don't remember how far back I went with the other picture. I got this at Pride. I got this at the Pride in Monroe. And I love it. I'm obsessed with it. It's not deep enough. That's one thing. It is not big enough for me. But it'll do. Hello, Leia. Hello, Leia. How are you doing? I was going to say something else, but I'm not going to. Hi, my love. Okay, y'all can see her. Okay, good. Cool beans. Okay. So I got my drink. I got my water, child. Because I'm trying to drink this water. The way y'all gonna see me refill that probably 2 or 3 more times once we get started is really kind of crazy. So I got my drink. Y'all, I got my notes. I told y'all we have notes from now on. I'm really trying my hardest to be organized. He is trying to have guided discussions. He doesn't know words, but he's trying to have guided discussions. So, enough of my yapping. Enough of my whatever else going on. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? How is your, whatever today, I think today is Wednesday. How is your Wednesday going? What have you been up to? How was work? How was the corner? Wherever you were today, how was it? I do not like that metal straw. I hope y'all have been having a good day. So, as you can see, okay, wait, no. Before, congratulations, Danny. Congratulations. Today was okay. Today was all right. It wasn't great for me, but congratulations to Danny for the new job. Javion Harvey, first off, the fact that I was just talking about you and the fact that I just wanted to check and make sure you were okay, because I know my friend is living like Larry. I just wanted to make sure everything was good. Child, that's all I wanted to say. I ain't trying to be messy. I ain't trying to call nobody out. But anyway. But no. For real. Today's been good. I have been so excited about this discussion about Phoebe. Just because Phoebe is so, like, when we talk about hearts, because you know we love talking about hearts. Piper is the heart of the family, which is true. Thank you, Leia. Thank you, Spaghetti Leia. I appreciate you, my love. Thank you, Gum Leia. Thank you for the heart. Thank you. Leia. Piper is the heart of the Hallowell family. And then, to me, Phoebe is the heart of the television program Charmed. Now, I have gone back and forth on that because I think Piper and Phoebe kind of, I think they share roles, and it didn't hit me one day until why. Because, you know, I am firmly of the opinion that Piper and Phoebe are two sides of the same coin. That is why they are like this. That is why the two of them are thick as thieves, because they are the same person. It just expresses itself differently. So they both want the stability that a family can provide, right? So they both long and yearn. And I say that both of them because, of course, Prue wants that too. But I think Prue focused a little bit more on maintaining what she had versus trying to chase what she didn't. And Phoebe and Piper both want that stability of having like a nuclear family unit. But Piper actually wants like the romance, and she wants the drama, and she wants, not the drama, but she wants the romance, and she wants the normalcy, and she wants to be able to come home and cook dinner. Here's the thing. Phoebe wants those things too. She wants those same exact things, but she wants the passion that comes with love. She doesn't just want the, you know, oh, he cooked me dinner. She's like, no, girl, we vanquished some demons and then he came home and he cooked me dinner. Like, baby, she wants the va-va-va-voom. We went to Paris and he ordered me dinner. We went to Venice and he cooked me dinner on top of whatever sites are in Venice. That's what Phoebe wants. And I think that's why Phoebe is always like, you know what, actually, that is a really good place to start. Before I do start, I want to plug my Patreon. If you would like to go to my Patreon, Power of G. Oh, thank you. Thank you. The person who just, Michael Jackson. I don't know how to say your name, but thank you. We just popped your gift, Cherry. Thank you. Thank you. But no, if you'd like to go to my Patreon, please feel free to do so. You can find me at Power of G. You find a whole host of benefits. We're doing a Charmed rewatch over there. We have a whole bunch of other things. You get early access to videos. You get a lot. You get a lot. It's very nice to meet you, Aria, as well. I'm glad that you had a chance to meet Holly. Now, okay, now listen. If I don't get a chance to respond to everybody's comments, we finna do a lot of talking tonight. So it's not an attack on anybody if I don't read your comments. We just finna do a lot of talking. And I can't stop and start. So go check out the Patreon. Go check me out on YouTube. YouTube is free. You can join my Discord. You can do all kinds of things. Every link that you could possibly want to go through is in the link tree in my bio. So here is where I really want to start off, because we just had a very short discussion. There's ain't textures. I know, hold them. We just had a very short discussion about how Piper and Phoebe are both two sides of the same coin, and they're both chasing love. Now, here's the thing about Phoebe and love. This is what it used to kind of frustrate me when I would get to the point of trying to discuss it. But then once I started thinking about it in terms of the show, I realized very quickly that I actually kind of love the way they set up Phoebe going into her relationship with Cole. Let me explain what I mean. Before I say that though, please remember, if you're new here, we do have a couple of guidelines. Please do not tell me which sister you think could solo the other ones. That is not something I like to discuss here. Please don't tell me anything about the behind the scenes drama. We already know it. We are Charmed fans. We're not here to talk about that. Those are things that we just don't discuss. So if you want a sister versus sister discussion, this is not the place for you. If you want to talk about the behind the scenes drama, this is not the place for you. We're just here to have a lovely discussion about a fictional character who is on our screens here. So, what do I mean by the earlier seasons set Phoebe up well going into her relationship with Cole? So, one thing that the show always does really well is from the very jump was tell us that Phoebe was in love with the idea of love. Phoebe is in love with love. She loves her some love. Baby, she is a free spirit. She is... They low-key be calling my girl a floozy. If we being 100% honest about the situation. They low-key be calling my girl a floozy from day one. But I'm not going to get into all of that. I'm just going to say that they be, And then when they when they say that her nickname was Freebie, they be calling my girl a hussy. They be up here treating my girl like she is just some street urchin, if we being 100% honest about the situation. But but with that though, we don't actually see Phoebe really with anybody in the first 2 seasons. We see Phoebe have intercourse, once? I don't even know if we see her have engaging coitus multiple times. I know she did it with Clay. I don't even remember outside of that if she did have anyone else. Now I would have to go back and watch, because y'all know, he's not all there. Phoebe doesn't date anybody regularly. I don't think that Phoebe actually even goes on any dates during the first 2 seasons. But we do know that Phoebe had a lot of boyfriends when she was younger. We do know that Phoebe's favorite movie was Kill It Before It Dies, and that she loved Billy because of what she felt, the idea of Billy and who he was. We learned those kinds of things. We see those things in her, so they set it up that Phoebe loves herself. The idea of love, and we see where it comes from. Cinderella was her favorite story when she was growing up. The prince coming off to take Cinderella into this magical world of whatever else after her mundane, horrible life that she's living, right? Okay. So, by the time Cole gets there, narratively, it makes perfect sense why our girl invests herself fully into this relationship with this man. We're going to get into her relationship with Cole a little bit later, but by season 3, it makes perfect sense. Even though what she does not make sense in the moment, what she does with Cole makes sense, because we've already seen in the first 2 seasons, Phoebe loves love. They've already painted her as a floozy, And so we don't really expect anything else from her other than to give herself fully to a man. But I really wanted to highlight the fact that that's the first time we see Phoebe in a relationship, because we've seen Prue go on dates. We've seen Prue be with men. We've seen Piper go on dates. We've seen Piper be with men. Phoebe, the one who you would expect would have a different man in and out the house every other week, she just be chilling. She's volunteering at the hospital. She's going back to college. She's trying to work different jobs so that she can make her way in the world. That don't sound like the love-struck hussy that we are being told Phoebe is. That sounds like someone who just enjoys the company of gentlemen when she enjoys it. I don't know why I just made her sound like Blanche Devereaux, but still, that's not really what we see on screen. So when we get to season 3 and we are seeing Phoebe throw herself into it, it's like, oh, this is what they were talking about. Oh, Phoebe is a hussy. Phoebe is, but we're not shocked. Ding, 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 ding. Which is another reason that I think it's really easy to get overly invested in her relationship with Cole, is because we know Phoebe loves love. And we are now seeing the manifestation of that on our screens. And we're low-key rooting for her, right? Even though Cole is Cole. We're low-key rooting for her in this because we know that Phoebe loves herself some love. That's all I'm saying. I wanted to bring that up first because I think that sets a good groundwork for Phoebe and kind of the character that she is. She is impulsive, but I think that her impulses are always rooted in something. It's rooted in her need to take care of somebody. It's rooted in her need to be happy. It's rooted in, like, her impulsivity is rooted in something every single time. Like, it seems like she's making these decisions that just don't make sense, but they actually make perfect sense for Phoebe, who she is. So speaking of who Phoebe is, Phoebe was raised by her grandmother alongside her 2 older sisters, Prudence and Piper. Her mother had gone on to the underworld. Her mother was no longer here. She was no longer amongst the living. And her father was off living his best life, getting jobs where he had a bunch of money and he couldn't even give them girls a little something. He gave Phoebe, you know what? He did give Phoebe a photo album when she was little. But once we started learning more about Phoebe when she was little, he did give her a photo album for her birthday, right? And even as an adult, Phoebe loves that photo album down. That is like one of her favorite things. And she even uses it to connect with her younger self and say, oh, look, don't you remember this is the thing that Dad gave us for our birthday? Now, why is that significant? Phoebe's father, as we have already stated, was not there. He was not in her life. However, that did not stop Phoebe from seeing an idealized version of this man in her head. That did not stop Phoebe from thinking that he was just this slam dunk guy that was just going to embrace her, even though he didn't know whether she was Piper or Phoebe when he met them as adults. Even though he mixed them up because he hadn't seen them in so long that he genuinely did not know who he was talking to, Phoebe still in her mind had this like great version, this vision of what it was going to be like to meet him. Now, him coming back in season 1 after they get their powers is another really significant moment in Phoebe's life. And in, I think, our understanding of who Phoebe is, how she operates. Now, to go back for just a quick second and talk about them finding their powers, Phoebe had just come back home from New York, right? Phoebe's grandmother had passed away 6 months prior. She had just gone to hell 6 months prior. She was freshly burning. And Phoebe immediately moved to New York, and then she moved back after 6 months because my girl was in debt. She went out there to go try to find her daddy. She couldn't find him. She ain't had no money. She ain't had no way to pay the bills. Child, she probably got evicted and just didn't tell us. We don't know. All she owned when she came back to San Francisco was a bike, a thong, and a dream. That's it. That's all my girl had. That's all. That's the only thing my girl had in her possession when she came back to San Francisco. So Phoebe is actually the one Phoebe, Phoebe is the one who sees the vision on the spirit board. Not the vision. Phoebe is the one who gets the message on the spirit board to go up to the attic. Her sisters are not, they're not interested in that. Phoebe is the one who ventures on ahead. She finds the Book of Shadows. She opens it up. She reads the spell. Boom, they have their powers. Phoebe finds out she has the power of premonition. She can see into the future. She can later on see into the past. Boom, bam. So the thing about Phoebe when they get their powers is it's easy, I think, to say, like, to recognize that Phoebe is the reason that they have their powers, right? So that's one part of the story. But the fact that Phoebe was so excited to be magical because it set her apart from everybody else. It made her special. And in the same way that Piper did not want to be special, Piper was perfectly fine blending in with an ugly bang and moving on with her life. Although Phoebe would have an issue with an ugly bang later on, but that's neither here nor is it there. Piper was perfectly fine with blending in. Phoebe wanted to stand out. She was ecstatic about it. She was happy and she was ready to be different and have something special about her. And Phoebe being a witch is something that I personally think sent her on the road to maturity and turned her into the person that we see later on the road. Not saying that Phoebe wasn't going to grow up eventually, because she was still young. She was like 22, 23, somewhere in there. So even though she still had time, I think being a witch is what put her on that path to finding who she was. Because I think there's a difference in growing up and finding out who you are. Because sometimes growing up means, let me put who I want to be to the side. Let me brush that on over because I have this responsibility and I have to do this. Phoebe, though, thankfully, had the opportunity to find herself. Because another important thing to remember in her story is Phoebe owned a third of the house. Now, that may seem like, why are you bringing that up? The point in that is Phoebe has somewhere to be. You know what I'm saying? You know, like sometimes you're just trying to survive so you can afford rent. So girl, if I got to go work at McDonald's every single day so I can afford this rent at this place I don't even like, just so I can have a roof over my head, I don't have time to go explore a hobby. I was going to say a hobby. I don't have time to go explore and see who I want to be and what I want to do. And, I'm going to volunteer at a hospital. Girl, I ain't got time for that. Phoebe had a place in her name. She had a place that on a legal document in a courthouse somewhere. 1/3 of that house was owned by Phoebe Halliwell at a very young age. So she did not ever have to worry about having a place to live. Ever. Especially while Piper and Prue were there, because they were going to make sure that the house was taken care of, because again, they were also co-owners. So you see what I'm saying? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Is she had a really good setup to be able to find herself in a way that a lot of young people don't. She had a very good opportunity to go through life and figure out where her next steps were going to take her. So we fast forward a little bit to what I just talked about with her father coming into the picture. So as they're still young, new witches figuring out the craft, their father comes back into their life. Okay. Phoebe is very excited to talk to her father. Very excited. And the thing is this is something that continues on through her life. Never does she stop being like excited about him. Even if it's in a small way of just being able to talk to him, she's always excited about the prospect of him. No matter what he does, no matter what he says, no matter what happens, she is always excited to see him. And that's a big point for her because, again, Phoebe idolizes this man. She idolizes him and what he could have brought to her life. And on the opposite end of Prue, where Prue is bitter and upset about what Victor didn't bring in the past, Phoebe was over enthusiastic about what he could bring in the future. Phoebe was willing to let it all go. Prue was holding on and Phoebe was willing to let it go. And you're going to hear me talk about their relationship a lot, because in the way that Piper and Phoebe are like this, because they're two sides of the same coin to me. Her and Prue are okay. So Piper and Phoebe are two sides of the same coin. Piper and Prue are at opposite ends of the same dollar, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So it's like they're on the same thing, but Prue is right here and Phoebe is right there. But they're always looking at each other. They always have the same stuff going on. And it's like that, I think, is what makes their storyline so interesting. That's what makes their storyline so fun to watch, and watch how they go through the challenges of getting to know each other as adults. Is they're completely different in the same respects that they are alike. So they both see Victor a certain way, and a lot of the way that they interact with the world is based on that. But Prue's comes from bitterness, Phoebe's comes from excitement. You know, Prue, as the oldest sister, basically already took care of the family. So she wasn't necessarily looking for one because she already had one. Phoebe, being the one who received that care, was always looking for a family because she felt like she didn't have one. So you see what I mean? There's a lot of with them. A lot of it. And that's why they clash so much and they bump heads so much. But when Victor comes back, Prue is not for it in the least bit. Like, she actually forbids him at one point to go see them, to go see him. Like, she tells Piper and Phoebe, like, no, we're not going to go talk to him. And I think that's another important thing with Charmed, is that we're catching them at a time in life where Piper and Phoebe are starting to become more autonomous in a way that they never realized that they weren't. And so then you have Prue telling them, no, you can't go talk to him. And Phoebe, because it's still in the early stages, Phoebe is kind of like rebelling a little bit when she still goes to go see him, right? So she's rebelling a little bit instead of just flat out being like, girl, go to hell. But we do eventually see Phoebe get to the point where she will tell Prue, like, girl, anyway, I'm gonna go do whatever I want to go do, because she realizes I am not under Prue's umbrella. Anyway, let's get back to the story. I do want to talk specifically about this incident with Victor, because again, I think it's another one of those scenes that sets up perfectly what happens with Cole. So Phoebe, like I said, idolizes Victor, right? And Phoebe has a vision. She has a premonition of someone that she thinks is Victor, because he looks just like Victor. It turns out he's a shapeshifter. He looks just like Victor. She has no inkling that this man is a shapeshifter. And she has a vision of him taking the book of shadows from them. Now, what does Phoebe do? Phoebe could either A, tell her sisters and say, you're right, we don't need to trust him. Or she could B, say, I'm just going to keep this little tidbit of information to myself and hope that everything goes well. Do we all want to take a quick guess at which one she chooses to go with? If you said option A, you're wrong. She does not. She does not choose to go with her sisters and say, I had a literal vision of this man seemingly stealing the book of shadows. That, like, I think at one point Prue even says, Like, he could be after the book for all we know. We become witches and he just so happens to come back. And literally, they say it. And Phoebe's like, girl, anyway. What makes it even funnier is that at one point when they do realize that he is untrustworthy, or they think that he is untrustworthy, Phoebe shares the premonition begrudgingly and is like, you're right, Prue. We couldn't trust him. And the thing about that moment is that Phoebe could not even acknowledge that he was wrong without somehow throwing the jab at Prue. And the reason I say that sets up how Phoebe is going to view a relationship with Cole later on down the road. Phoebe sees the best in who she wants to see the best in, and Prue is the villain in some shape, form, or fashion in that lady's eyes. Now, that's not me putting down Prue. That's not me saying that Prue is always right. That's not what I'm saying here. That's not the reason I'm bringing that up. I'm bringing that up to say that from Phoebe's point of view, when it comes to things like that, Prue is the one who is just constantly trying to throw around the fact that she knows more and she this and that. And I think there's that level of her to that ODD to her that's just like, girl, I'm not going to tell you you're right. I'm not telling you that you're right. I'm not doing it. It's not happening. And like I said, Phoebe is the one who had the vision. No one else had it and then told her about it. Phoebe is the one who had the vision, kept it from her sisters, which establishes a pattern of keeping it from her sisters very early on, but that's neither here nor is it there. And instead of saying like, oh my God, I can't believe that he would do this, it turns on Prue. Like, yeah, Prue, of course you were right. Yeah, I guess you're right. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. And that's just the person that Phoebe is, especially when it comes to somebody that she cares about. But then it turns out Phoebe was right or it was right in a way. I am going to say right in a way because I think it's important to kind of stop and talk about Victor right now and his relationship specifically with Phoebe. Phoebe is a character who unfortunately is a lot of people's in to the family. And there are multiple, I'm not going to say multiple. I know Cole did. I'm trying to remember if there was somebody else. Well, yeah, there are multiple because there was Cole, Callie. I'm sure if I go back and watch it again, I can probably think of some more demons. But there are demons and entities who go through Phoebe because they know she's the most vulnerable, right? So Victor is unfortunately one of those people. Victor is a person who knows that he can tug at Phoebe's heartstrings, and he does so. And it's not like it stopped after that one time, right? So when he comes back, he gets in contact with Phoebe because he realizes she's the one that's the most open to seeing him and meeting with him. That's going to be our end. That's how we're going to do this. Blah, 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 blah. And it's interesting because you would think that was a necessity when it really kind of wasn't. Thank you. He really was just trying to get the book away from them because he wanted to keep them safe. And it was like, huh. Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting way to do that. But you would think that was kind of the only time because in his mind it was a necessity, right? Well, in season 3, Victor comes back. And I cannot stand Grams. Let me say that. Let me start by saying that I cannot stand Grams. I think that she has a place in the story as a man hater, and as a man I'm probably going to be a little bit biased against characters who unnecessarily in my eyes hate men. So there's going to be a little bit biased against characters who unnecessarily in my eyes hate men. So there's that. But the way that they write Grams as being so bitter and so whatever word I'm looking for. Ooh, Not it froze up. Not it froze up, child. My God, I'm so sorry. But yeah, so even though they write her like that, I'm rarely gonna give Grams a lot. Okay? I am rarely going to give that lady a lot. But she low-key was right about Victor, which is the sad part. And what do I mean by that? Victor comes back in season 3 and he wants Phoebe to go to this piece of property that he's thinking of buying so that she can see if she feels any kind of bad mojo so he can know whether to buy it or not. This is in season 3. This is 2 years after he came back into their life. This is when Piper is getting married. Piper's getting ready to have her wedding rehearsal, not wedding rehearsal, but like the wedding dinner rehearsal, whatever. His daughter is getting ready to get married. And Victor comes to Phoebe specifically and wants her to go to a ghost town to see if it's worth him buying. It is giving that Grams was absolutely right and that men only use us for our magic. I'm sorry. Like, that's what that's giving me. That is because you would I understand. So from a writing perspective, they had to have a way to set the story up. That's number one. They had to have a way. That's number one. And number two, it's so stupid that it's hard for me to like really even want to try to explain it away, because you didn't want them to be witches to the point that you started working with demons to get their powers away from them. The Book of Shadows, the power, all of that. You made the choice to work with demons to get magic away from them. And then you also said, okay, I see where it can benefit me here, so if they still got it, I might as well try to use it. But you want to know what's even worse? In that moment, Phoebe never sees it like that. Phoebe doesn't get... I see someone said they all have daddy issues and it's not their fault. I'm not sure what that has to do really with what I guess I'm saying, but because I haven't been keeping up with like the comments, so I don't know if there's another piece to that or just what. But I get what that means as to why Phoebe responds the way she does, which is fine. But with him, with Victor, to me, that does not set up a good and balanced relationship to me. Because if you're going to show me a scene where he's willingly using her magic for his personal gain, after he has not been in their life, even consistently within the 2 years that he's been back. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't set up a good look for Victor. That doesn't set up a good look for Victor. Especially after you already wanted me to jump through hoops and hurdles to accept the fact that he worked with demons trying to get the girl's powers taken. Or at least the Book of Shadows. Maybe not the powers, but the Book of Shadows. Which doesn't make any sense, because if you're giving demons the Book of Shadows, so it's like he kind of wanted them gone. I don't know. Maybe it was a contingency, child, in the will that if none of them had any children, he got the house. I don't know. I don't know. Because Because why would you take away the Book of Shadows, which is going to be their main defense against the demons besides their powers? The powers are cute. If they don't have the book, they don't know what they're even up to. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So, okay. I think that now that we have discussed a little bit of the background between Victor and the family, now is as good a time as any to dive into Phoebe and Cole. Okay. I need to prepare myself. I just need to prepare myself because I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I'm preparing myself because, and this is no shade. This is no shade to anybody in the comments before, okay? I promise you this is no shade to anybody in the comments. If you stand Cole and Phoebe and you think that they are in game, that's fine. I am preparing myself for the onslaught of comments about how Phoebe and Cole should have been in game, how they should have been forever. Cole just didn't have the chance. I am preparing myself for that. In the same way that Piper is hard for me to talk about sometimes because there's a specific way that people view her, I think it's the same thing with Phoebe and Cole specifically. Specifically in Phoebe's life, Phoebe and Cole. It is very hard for me to talk about them sometimes because I feel like a lot of the reaction I get is like, I would have folded too. Oh, I would have done such and such too. And Cole is this. And he's the reason that I'm so toxic now. He's the reason that I like this kind of man. And that makes it, that's kind of sad for me sometimes to see people like explaining away what happened with that man. Because here's the thing. We can try to recontextualize it all we want. And we can try to make it into the greatest love story ever told. But the baseline of their relationship is that he came into her life under false pretenses, specifically with the intention of using her, not just infiltrating the charm circle. He specifically chose Phoebe because he had researched them and he saw that Phoebe was the weak link and that he could use her to infiltrate their lives and eventually take their lives. Now, one of the things that I have seen people say in response to that is, well, when he fell in love with her, he walked away from that. And I think, and I don't say this jokingly, I'm very serious and I would tell myself the same thing and would expect for the people that care about me to tell me this. I think that if we can rationalize something like that, we probably need to be evaluated. You know what I'm saying? Like you may need to go see a therapist. You may need to go see a therapist because it's not like he went to go see, he was a lawyer that was trying to like sue them from somebody for somebody else. And he fell in love with Phoebe and then walked away from the case. It's not like that. It's not like he was a doctor who was opposed to something that one of them wanted to do for a loved one. And so he had to walk away from it when he realized that he was in love. It's not that kind of a situation, right? He studied. Let's start there. Studied. This was not like he was assigned the case and then he just randomly met them and decided this is how I'm going to do it, right? He had a dossier He had a dossier. He knew things about her that he could specifically use to get into her good graces. Now, that's manipulation, my babies. That's manipulation, babies. It's manipulation. The main problem with that is that Phoebe does not fall in love with Cole. Number one, Phoebe falls in love with a version of Cole that he projects, right? That's number one. So kind of like Leo. Like how Piper never got the chance to actually fall in Leo. She fell in love with a version of Leo because he was lying to her instead of telling her why he was actually there. But for Cole and Phoebe, it's a lot bit worse, because not only did she fall in love with a fake version of this man that did not exist, she fell in love with a fake version of him that he specifically crafted. To make her fall in love with him. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to Phoebe and Piper and Prue and Paige dating as witches, right? They don't necessarily tell these men that they are witches, and it causes issues down the road because they are withholding a part of themselves from these men, right? Okay. So there's that. We have addressed that. They are not giving them the complete picture of who they are because these men are left out of this huge part. Okay? There's that. We're going to address that. That's one thing, which actually affects her relationship with Jason down the road. However, not sharing with someone that you are a witch is completely different from having a dossier on a person and crafting an image of yourself that can easily seduce them. Those are two different things, babe. Those are two different things, babe. So why do I bring all that up and go into such great detail about their relationship? About that specific, the opening to their relationship, that specific part of it. I think that going forward in their relationship, especially the end and after of it, that comes into play because he knew what his goal was when he got with Phoebe. Phoebe thought she was genuinely falling in love. So this was a mission for him, but this was real life love for her, right? And so that's why at the end of their relationship, Phoebe is able to bounce back. And even though she comes off wrong sometimes because the show writes it as if she hates this man. Number one, we have to remember everything that they actually experienced over their time together. But number two, Phoebe as a person, as a human being, was able to understand how to move through a relationship because this was something in her life that happened and she is now having to adjust the person she is afterwards. Like a person, right? Cole does not have that luxury because Cole is not, he's half human, but Cole has not grown up as a human. Cole has not experienced life as a human. So his approach to relationships is not going to be human. So while Phoebe is understandably working through it as a normal human being would, kind of trying to distance herself from him, you know, processing everything that they've been through over the past couple of years, Cole is holding on to her because she is his redemption. Phoebe never gets to be a person in his eyes because she never was. That's the thing about it. Phoebe was never a person in his eyes. From the moment they got together, she was a something. She was a mission. She was a job. She was a failed job. And then she was his redemption. And that's what she stayed. Even when she was a wife and a girlfriend and a whatever else, a queen and this and that, she was always a redemption for him. So that's why he can't let go. And that's why he tries to even undo time itself to bring himself into this world where him and Phoebe were still together, because in his mind, that's when they were he even says that's when they were at their best. What the fuck are you talking about? Y'all were never at your best, baby. You spent months trying to evade the source, trying to evade demons, because you abandoned your job, because you had a job to do and you walked away from your job. No. What it was, him and Phoebe are just alike. That's when they were at their most passionate. Ooh. What do we mean? That's when they were at their most passionate. Can you imagine how thrilling it must be? I've been going away from demons and running away from demons for 2 weeks. And then I finally get a chance to come see you. Baby. I know Piper and Prue had to leave that house, because I know when that man would get done running away from them demons and he would get back. I know it sounded like it was so many rounds of applause going off in there, like somebody had just watched a grade A show. Do you understand me? The clapping that had to have been commencing in that bedroom was crazy when he saw that woman. It had to have been. And I think it's more than just that physical intimacy, but it's that part of like, you made it through. We don't know if we're going to be able to see you again. It's that constant thrill of, will I see you again? Will I won't? Will I won't? What am I talking about? Will I see you again? Won't I see you again? Thank you. Thank you for the eyes. It's that constant, I have you back. I'm waiting for you. I needed you. I missed you. I longed for you. And that's why he thinks of that time in their relationship as them at their best, because they were at their most passionate. It's the same for Phoebe. You ask Phoebe, that's probably when she'll think that they were at their best too, because again, what did we say earlier when we first came in? Phoebe wanted passion. And what did she get from Cole? Passion. But because she had never seen an actual example. Now, I am not here to have discussions about people being raised in single parent households. That's not something that I'm trying to discuss. That's not my, everybody has different whatever. I was raised in a single parent household. I know how I have whatever. For Phoebe specifically, Phoebe had a very, this is a great segue into my next point. Phoebe had a very specific view of passion, because Phoebe had come up with her idea of what love was from movies and TV shows, from Bewitched and Kill It Before It Dies and Cinderella. That's where Phoebe's view of love came from. It sure wasn't for Grams having a different husband every 5 minutes. It wasn't from her. We can tell you that much ourselves. She might have had an idea how to get a husband, but she sure didn't have an idea how to keep one. So her view of what love and passion was came from movies. That's something that I have struggled with myself. And now, why is that a problem? Think about it. And whoever just told me not too much on Penny, I'm gonna say whatever I want to about that lady. I promise you. I have, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come at you like that. I promise you, I did not. I don't know what the phrase "not too much on" actually triggers me. It actually triggers me to a point where I have to like stop myself sometimes. So I deeply apologize about that. I just hate when people tell me not too much on. I hate that. That is such a passive aggressive. Even when you just like textures and no hold them. Even when you don't mean it from a passive aggressive standpoint. Anyway, so I just had to explain that real quick, baby. I'm so sorry. Whoever that person is, I am so sorry, baby. I did not mean to come at you like that. I am so very sorry. You had no way of knowing how that phrase affects me. So I am so sorry. I know you probably meant that as a joke. I don't even know who that was. Anyway. But no. Phoebe's view of love, coming from movies, the problem with that is when you watch a movie, baby, you're seeing the most exaggerated version of love that you could ever find. You are finding us running down the stairs to each other and being like, oh my God, I can't believe, like you're finding us like standing in the corner and just saying, I can't imagine what my life would be without you. I could never. That's what you get in movies. You get Billy in movies. You get someone who's willing to risk it all to protect you, even though he was wearing a sweater and all he was just thank you for that. Thank you, Chanel. Oh my God, y'all go follow Chanel Mac. The drama of it all. The drama of it. Like the drama of love. Right? And I mean, if we're being 100% honest, Graham's constantly getting these different husbands might have contributed to that view. Maybe it was like she sees love as like this whirlwind that just happens. Who knows? I'm not putting that on Graham's because they never really go into how them seeing Graham's with these husbands like affected them. So anything I say would just be, speculation, and that's not what I'm here for. So Phoebe seeing love like that explains perfectly why she threw herself into that man. We already know Phoebe is in love with the idea of love. We already know that Phoebe is willing. She sees love as something that you risk everything for to make happen. We know that her idea of love is exaggerated because she loves movies and stories, and she wants to be like Cinderella, right? So, and this is another thing that we brought up when we discussed Piper. Piper and Phoebe wanted to be chose. And they wanted to be chosen in a very specific way. I'm not talking about being pick-me's and they standing outside of a bodega twerking. That's not what I'm talking about. I am not talking about that kind of being chose. I am talking about they wanted a person who was going to risk it all for them. They wanted a person who was going to put them above everything else. That's why Piper wanted Lily instead of Dan. Dan didn't have to choose her. He just wanted her. Lily had to choose her over the elders, over the rules, over being a white lighter. There was something that he had to choose her in spite of and over. Cole had to choose Phoebe over being a demon. No, I mean Lily. I said Lily and I meant Lily. He had to choose her over giving in to this evil. He had to choose. So that's what I mean when I say Piper and Phoebe were pick-me's. And they did not in the classical sense. They were pick-me's in that they literally wanted someone to pick them. They actually wanted someone to pick them over an entity. And that's why Phoebe does what she does. She picked him and then she expected him to pick her. You know what I mean? Like because that's what Phoebe thinks you do for love. She thinks that you make these great sacrifices. She thinks that you make this way to do whatever it is that you want to do so that you can find love. Like that's what Phoebe thinks in her mind love is. That's not her fault in any shape, form, or fashion. That is something that has been crafted over time by TV and movies. Now, why do I say I can relate to that? I'm not very experienced in the romance area, okay? And as an adult, I have had to work through the fact, because I've always loved TV, I've always loved movies. That's why we're here today. That's why we're here today, is because your boy has always loved him some TV and movies. And because I was, and I know I'm not looking for, I don't know, I'm just sharing this with y'all just as a little background. I was a very lonely child, right? And I didn't have that many friends, didn't have whatever. So I just went into, you know what I'm saying? Just like went into like the fictional world. And as an adult though, I had to work through, and have had to work through, with no actual romantic like experience really like that, have had to work through what that actually means, and what those expectations and views of love, how that has affected me, right? The difference between me and Phoebe is I had to come through that, and I'm a real person, so you know. I had to work through that. Phoebe actually had something slap her in the face and say, baby, that's not real. Phoebe had something that came and slapped her in the face and said, baby, what you're looking for is not real. And even if it is real, it's not sustainable. Now, do you want to know what's interesting? Bringing this back to how Piper and Phoebe are two sides of the same coin. Piper, coincidentally, had something happen that snapped her out of her comfort zone and the world that she had crafted in her mind. And that was Prudence getting up out of here. It forced her to see that, oh, I can live in a world without this woman. Oh my God. And I have to go on. And I have to figure out who I am. And I have to figure out, who am I as a person? And I have to figure out, and I have to figure out, and I have to be, and I have to do, and I have to this, and I have to that. And that snapped her out of her views of what an oldest sister is and how they're supposed to be. And it snapped her out of this family dynamic that she had made up in her mind because it was one that they had lived. And Prue, I don't want to say like, I really think Piper's sisters are the loves of her life. But that's a whole other discussion. That's a discussion for a different day. I don't think it was Lily. Wyatt is kind of different because he's a child, but I think Piper's sisters were the loves of her life. I truly do. And I think that's why her and Phoebe cling on to each other so heavily in later seasons. But anyway, we'll get to that in a little bit. With Phoebe though, Phoebe had this idea of what love was, and then Cole, while they're in love, while they're in the thick of it, and then they get married, y'all, this is what I mean when I say it is imperative. Phoebe's relationship with Cole was imperative to her life. Truly. Like, Phoebe's relationship with Cole was probably one of the biggest things outside of Patty going on to the upper room and Victor leaving. Cole is probably the most significant thing because I think it popped that bubble. Because what do we see? How do we see Phoebe after that? After her relationship with Cole? We see her struggling to even understand like what she wants in another person. We watch her struggle to find that connection with love again. And Phoebe, from what the show has told us and shown us, is a love machine. Piper called a lady a love machine, which was a nice way of calling her, you know, something that rhymes with a plut. That was Piper's nice way of saying that, but that's what the lady said. You know what I'm saying? So for them to tell us that and show us that, and then go out of their way to show us that Phoebe has so much trouble connecting with love later on, it's because of Cole. And I think that I'm not even gonna say it's a long time, because even from season 4 to the end of season 4 to the end of season 8 is only 4 years. So it's like, that's not actually a long time in like the grand scheme of life. But the thing is, Phoebe no longer has that vision that she had before. Phoebe can't look at love the same way she did when she was 20. She can't. She's experienced too much. She has gone through literal fire. She has gone through literal hell in a relationship. She can't look at Phoebe the same one. She can't look at love the same way she did at the beginning of the show. She can't. She literally does not have that capability. And I think that throws her into a semi, I don't think fully, but I think into like a semi identity crisis. Because she's always valued it so much. She's always valued the passion that came from it. But now she understands firsthand how passion can ruin you. I'm just telling y'all, a girl went through a lot. I'm telling y'all, like, in that respect, Phoebe goes through such a journey as a person in the love department. And baby, oh my God. I'm telling you, when I think about it sometimes, that's what makes Phoebe... Okay, so Paige is actually my favorite character, right? And for a multitude of reasons that we're going to get into tomorrow when we talk about her. So when we talk about Paige tomorrow, I'm going to get into why she is my favorite character. But Phoebe is somebody that, again, this is what I mean when I say I think she is the heart of Charmed, the television program, not the family, but the television program Charmed. Phoebe, I think, is relatable to us in a way that Piper and Prue and Paige aren't, because we all see parts of ourselves in them, right? But Phoebe is a character that I think you can literally just like go through any point of your life and be like, yeah, I was like that too. I was stupid over this. Oh, I remember being so excited over going back to college. Oh, I remember being scared of going back to college. Oh, I remember thinking like, I just got to blaze my way through it. Oh, I remember when I got my first job and I was kind of scared. Oh, I remember when. There's something in Phoebe's life. There is always something in Phoebe's life that you can pick and you can say, I remember when I. And that's why I think even when people don't like Phoebe, I used to be a very staunch Phoebe hater. Baby, I used to have, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, I used to have people who would actually DM me and tell me that I was going too hard on her. And that was so funny. I think I tweeted that one day and I tweeted it out and I showed the screenshots because I took screenshots because I was like, are you for real? And somebody literally told me like I was going too hard on her. And they told me I was being too mean to her. And I'm like, girl, she's a fictional character. I think she's okay. But that's one of the beautiful parts of this show is as you do grow up and your mindset changes, you do see different things. You look at characters differently. And then in going into my own stuff and figuring out who I am and why I am, it's like, oh, Phoebe is low key. I don't think there, let me say this. Let me make sure I say this. I do not think there was a best character on this show. I think that a lot of people want there to be a best character because they like one better than another one. But I don't think there's a best because I don't think that there's a best anybody in real life. Like you wouldn't go around to your family members and be like, oh yeah, she's the best one in the family just because you like her a little bit better. Or maybe you would. I don't know. But I bring that up to say that with Charm being a family show, a show about them connecting as a family, I think it's so counterproductive. Listen. I am talking about the way people will get on here and like, okay, let me say this. Charmed is about a family at the end of the day. And when I say people saying that one character is the best one, I am talking about the people who try to put the other characters down so that they can prop one up. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those people who go out of their way to try to turn the show into a competition between them. And it's so weird to me. But anyway, that's me getting off topic, y'all. That's me getting off topic. Let me get back to Phoebe and Cole. So Phoebe and Cole go through a really strange period, right? So when Phoebe finds out that Cole is Balthazar and that he's actually been trying to take these people out for months. He has been trying to actually destroy them for months. Phoebe does something that makes absolute... Y'all know how the source said it. Don't play with me like that. Y'all know when in Charmed and Dangerous, when they went up against him and the source was like, Balthazar. Because he was so extra. And he's like, Balthazar. Oh wait, he didn't snort. I snorted. But y'all remember what I'm talking about. Y'all remember exactly what I'm talking about. Y'all know that. Y'all know what I'm talking about when that man did that. When Cole came in and he took in the hollow... and he had the hollow taken in, and he got hit with that with that fireball. Y'all got me so messed up, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm just using words incorrectly because of y'all. And then that man said, Balthazar. It's kind of like the original source, the voice of the source, where he was like, I know. Wait. I know. I know of your witch, Balthazar, of your struggles. I know that's why you've come here. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. And y'all not gonna play in my face like you don't. I know of your struggles, Balthazar. And then when he hit them real quick, okay, this is the last one I'm gonna do. When he hit them real quick with, I've broken the charm circle before. I can do it again. Baby, he ate them. I'm not even gonna lie. He ate them up with that. I'm not even gonna front. If that man had told me that, I would have been scared. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. I ain't got no lie to tell you. When that man said that, I probably would have been like, oh, girl. I would have been like, well, girl, he did kind of... I'm not even gonna front. When he said that, I was like, oh girl, y'all might need to be scared. Because he did kind of mess y'all up before, if we being 100% honest. Like, girl, I probably would have. I would have been like, I know we burned it before, but from whence they came, return them now. I'm so sorry, y'all. I get caught up on like little moments like that, and it'd be so funny to me because it's something that doesn't mean anything at all, but it is just so funny to me, and it is just hilarious. Even the way he says it, he doesn't even say it in like a super menacing way. He almost says it like he's not even gonna like, it's not even important to him. He's like, I've broken the charm circle before. Okay, I'm done. I promise. I'm so sorry. This show is so funny. Like, I'm telling you, Charmed is so funny. It's this show is just like hilarious. I'm so sorry. Okay. Anyway, so let's actually, you know what? Power Outage actually is a very good episode to discuss in the development of their relationship, because Power power outage is an episode in season 3 where Cole utilizes a demon who's like a spirit of anger or something like that, spirit of wrath, I don't know. And Andrus, my boy Andrus, and he uses him to infect the sisters with anger so that they can basically turn on each other. And that's his plan to break the power of 3, because he understands that the power of 3 is rooted in their sisterhood versus them as witches, right? So boom, at that point he utilizes him. He does it, and he's actually successful in breaking the power of 3, right? Okay, so he breaks the power of 3. Cute moment. Then Phoebe goes to him completely powerless, and the other 2 are at home completely powerless. They did eat each other up in the episode, baby. That episode was everything, because my God in heaven, Phoebe was eating them folks up. You know what? We may have to come back to that actually, because Phoebe was eating them folks alive. And that episode was a real good testament to when Prue would try Phoebe and Phoebe would not back down, because I think that was really important too to their relationship. Prue always thought she could kind of smack Phoebe around, get her baby, and my girl would never back down. Baby, she would pay Prue dust. She might get upset about what she said. She may be a little bit pressed. She may hold on to it. But baby, Phoebe was never gonna back down in the moment, baby. Ever. And I have to stand. But anyway. Phoebe is there with him, completely powerless. Her sisters are at home together, but completely powerless. Cole has the athame in his hand as he is necking with her. And he lifts the athame up to plunge it into her back. Literally stab her in the back. I don't know if I should have said that word, but literally take this woman out, right? And then he hesitates, and then he puts his hand down. Girl, all that planning for nothing. And then he tells her to go home and make up with her sisters. And guess what she does? She goes home and she makes up with her sisters. And the demon of rage infests him, or possesses him rather, goes after them. And what's funny is him being there, his presence is actually the catalyst for the power of 3 coming back together, which I just find so hilarious and so ironic that after all of that, after that whole plan that actually worked, after all of that, his presence there is what rebinds the power of 3. Girl, Gagatundra, gag me with a spoon. I can't. Like, when I tell you I can't, because I would have been like, I know you playing in my face right now. Anyway, so their plan works. They get a slice of his demon flesh. He goes down. He vanquishes the triad. This is the beginning of the rest of your life. No. This is the beginning of what I have seen some people regard as Cole's redemption arc. Y'all are gonna get real mad at me. Y'all are gonna get very mad at me. I know there are gonna be some people who don't agree with what I'm about to say. And I understand that, because I feel like I still need a way to fully flesh out what I think about it in the moment. I do not think that Cole had a redemption arc on the television program Charmed. I don't. I do not think that he had a redemption arc. I think that Cole was evil, and then he loved Phoebe, and then he was human, and then he was a demon again. I think that. I do not think that he had a redemption arc. And because I think Y'all are going, okay, I'm reaching. I am about to say that I'm going to tell y'all up front that I'm about to reach with what I'm going to say. Okay? I'm reaching to infinity and beyond when I say this. Okay? And I am fully aware of that. I really want to preface this because I don't want nobody coming at me saying, yeah, you're reaching. No, you're reaching. Your mama's reaching. Because I done already told you that I'm reaching what I'm saying. Cole was an advanced version, a very, very well thought out, very well placed version of Dan. I do not think that he was a reflection of Leo. I think he was a reflection of Dan. And let me tell you why. Dan was not a character to me. Dan was someone who was there as an obstacle and a storyline for Piper and Leo's story. He was there specifically for that. That is what he was there for. I think whether they intended to do this or not, Cole was there to usher Phoebe from child Phoebe to adult Phoebe. That's what I think. I think that that's what Cole was there for. I think that even when they decided to go longer term with their relationship, Cole served a very specific function in Phoebe's life and in her story. And the problem and the reason that we can recognize that he was done wrong in season 5 is because he didn't have a place in the story anymore. He had served his function. He had served the function in her life and in the story that he was supposed to. But because he was a popular character, and then you got Julian McMahon, who is like fine as fine can be. You know what I'm saying? Like you would have been crazy not to work him into the story. But within that, though, I think the thing is, and the reason I compare him to Dan, like I said, is because Dan, same thing. Very attractive man. But he served no purpose in the story from the get-go. So his character wasn't even going to be popular enough, I don't think, to have... imagine Dan in, season 3. Imagine Dan in season 3. What was Dan going to be doing in season 3? Tell me what you think Dan was going to be doing in season 3. Nothing, because he wasn't supposed to be there. Because he served a function. And I think it's the same thing with Cole. I do think that seasons 3 and 4 were meant for Cole, definitely. But that's why he doesn't fit in season 5, because he's not supposed to be there anymore. And they were trying to make him work. So that's why I call him a much better written, well thought out version of Dan. Not Leo. Leo was, I think, at a certain point, I would say probably season 2 more than I would season 1. Because season 1, I think Leo and Piper were still in that kind of they just are really good together phase. But season 2 is when I think they wanted them to be long-term in-game. And I think they wanted to kind of test the waters of Piper being with someone else. And so they brought in someone who was perfect for her. And how's that gonna be? And da-da-da-da. And so when her and Leo still had that good chemistry that they saw people would root for, it was okay, they're gonna be in-game for each other. That was Leo at a specific point. But I also think Piper and Phoebe are different in that way, because Piper seemed like she was meant to be married to the same man for 50 years. You know what I'm saying? Phoebe, to me, is a person who... Okay. I wrote this down, and I'm trying to think of how I wrote it down. I wrote it down right here. And it says, point out that Piper grows while in relationships. Phoebe grows because of relationships. And I don't know whether I fully agree with that statement as it is, but I do see where I was going with it. Piper changed as a person in her relationship with Leo. So Leo was a constant in the way that Piper experienced life and her going through it. So as Piper is changing, she's either Leo's wife or ex-wife or wife, you know? She's always his something. She's in proximity to him, and their relationship is part of why she changes as a person and grows, but most of the most of the growth that she's doing is because of external things and factors, but their relationship is still intact for the most part, but Phoebe is a person who experiences relationships and they help to change her. She takes in different lessons from these relationships. She takes in different things from these people that she is dating. And she learns about different aspects of how her life is changing. And I think that those relationships force her to understand that life does change. Because even though she's excited for change, even though Phoebe is a character who loves adventure and whatever else, there's a difference in loving adventure and you still have stable home to come to, and stable home is changing and adventure is out there waiting for you. Those are two different things. So yeah, I can go to New York. I can go to New York today. I could go right to New York today. And guess what? When I come back to the house, it's going to be just like it was when I left. Hopefully, prayerfully. Right? Everything is still going to be there. My sister's going to be here. My mama's going to be here. The house is going to be here. Like, I have that stability, which gives me the courage to chase that adventure. Right? But there's a difference in Prue just died. Oh. Cole is human now. Oh. I just got a job. Oh. I have to be a wife now. Oh. You see what I mean? That's a lot. For a person like Phoebe, who would chase adventure, but there was always that undertone of stability in her life that she took for granted, now she got to be a wife. Now she's got to go clock into a job every day. Now she's got to figure out what life is without Prue. And her relationship with Cole is a constant, which I think is why she holds on to him. But that relationship shows her that relationships can't be your anchor, baby, because they can go just as quick. That relationship showed her, I gotta figure out how to move on from this man. Ooh. Her relationship with Jason showed her, oh, I gotta use my words. I can't just hope that a spell is gonna make me say what I'm really feeling and then we're gonna be on the same page. Oh. I can't hope that he has the answer to how to vanquish his demon, because then we can vanquish the demon and then I can be back in time. Oh. I can't do those things that I could before. And the relationships teach her how to move into this next phase, how to use her words, how to be. But the thing about Phoebe is Phoebe always runs. Phoebe always runs from things. Always. That's why we see her retreat into herself. That's why we see her in in the latter part of season 6 and season 7 and even in season 8. That's why we see her not know what to do with herself, because imagine in such a short window. Now, I am not saying that Jason was a love of her life. That is not what I'm saying, because I know some people are going to disagree, even though I think he was at least a love of her life. Imagine losing two very significant relationships that were on opposite ends of the spectrum, but very intense in different ways in such a short period of time. In like a 3-year window, you've lost two different relationships that you invested so much of yourself in, just in different ways. Okay, so she throws herself into Cole. She throws herself into him, and she literally loses herself. I mean, she literally loses herself in this man. And then after everything that they go through, and they get this brief little window where they think everything is going to be okay because he's human, he's actually the source. Or he turns into the source. Not he's actually. But he turns into the source after that. And now that one little brief window of time that you had where you thought y'all were going to be good is gone. Right? And you now have to mourn the passion, the love. You have to mourn what you put into this man. You have to mourn this man himself. You have to mourn what you thought your life was going to be with this man. And then you move on a little bit, kinda. You open yourself back up. You find Jason, who, let's just be honest, is every woman's dream. He's handsome. He's tall. He's rich. He treats this woman like a queen. He flies her out to wherever she wants to go. He brings her diamonds. He is the first person that makes her say, this is how I am feeling about something, as opposed to there being the threat of y'all losing y'all's lives. And so you have to be honest with each other. No, you just got to be honest with each other because you want to keep the relationship going, baby. Because you don't have anything in between. You don't have running from the source. You don't have running from demons. You don't have running from bounty hunters. You don't have, oh, I'm the queen of evil. You don't have that as a buffer as into your relationship. You have to actually talk about how you're feeling, because all that's there is the relationship. And then you lose it. Phoebe did what Phoebe does, and Phoebe ran from that. Number one, Phoebe low-key ran from using her words, if we're being 100% honest. Because Phoebe was very afraid of what would happen if he found out about magic, because we have to remember, in her last relationship, it was all about magic. Everything was about magic. So there was always that level to it. She didn't have to hide that part of herself. But her relationship with Jason is a human relationship, and we have to use human words. Now, here's the thing about that. In the same way that Piper did not want Dan, I do not think that normal part of Dan, I do not think Phoebe wanted that from Jason. I don't. I know I compared Cole to Dan, but that was more in like an overall kind of sense, right? That wasn't in a specific like this. In the same way that Dan gave Piper that normalcy and she didn't want it, Phoebe did not want normalcy. Not in the beginning. And she didn't actually want it at all. That's why she ends up with a magical being in the show. They don't want normalcy. And even once they've somewhat worked through their issues, they still don't want normalcy. They still want that passion. And being with a magical being is going to bring you a level of closeness that you're not going to be able to get with a mortal. I mean, that's just, I would just assume that's true. Because there's always going to be some sort of unevenness there. Now, while we talk about unevenness, let's talk about Jason for a second, because I love me some Jason Down, as you can tell. I love me some Jason. Jason is one of my favorite relationships on the show. He is one of my favorite boyfriends. He is one of my favorite people. There is a discussion to be had about the fact that he was Phoebe's boss. Because that opens, even though I think that he treated Phoebe very well, there is a level of discussion that needs to be had about the fact that this man owned the newspaper that she worked for. And that he could have, in theory, we can say he wouldn't have, but he could have fired her at really any moment. Just because he wanted to. Like, he really could have. He could have just been like if they had broken up, he could have been like, girl, you need to go. You need to get up out of here. Hello, Jim Anthony. God damn. Hey, Jim. How are you, darling? Did you see my eyes? I'm so sorry. You know I love you, Jim Anthony. No, there were things happening between them in the office that would have made HR cry. Exactly. It was very inappropriate. It was truly inappropriate. And it goes into that territory of trying to figure out and decipher, like, how does that play into their relationship? Because yes, there is a power imbalance, but it also goes into a realm of her coworkers, right? Where we need to bring them up in some shape, form, or fashion. Because can you imagine working somewhere and, number one, your coworker is already like the star of the place, right? So she's the only person who has an office. We're all sitting here in cubicles. Not even cubicles. I say cubicles. At a desk. We're all sitting here at desks looking at each other stupid every day. In the open. In the wild. And two people got an office. The boss and then the lady who writes the columns. Huh? What? Girl. Anyway, that would be my number one. But then I can't do nothing because y'all down there in the office bumping uglies. Girl, I'm calling HR. Is there HR? What I always made the assumption of was that, now this was my assumption, was that their little part of the newspaper was in that office and then other parts of the office had different things going on. That was my assumption. Was that, like, because Spencer Ricks wasn't in their office. So, but I don't remember if he was with I think he was with the newspaper. So that was my assumption. Was like the Bay Mirror was the whole thing. And then that was just like the advice column. But still, my point remains. Even if we are all just in the advice column area, one person got an office. A huge office at that. A big, huge office. Big enough to get attacked by demons in. Big enough for Phoebe to levitate up on the wall. And not get hit by acid. Big enough for that. But then I'm sitting at a desk. Girl, bye. Go to hell. No, ma'am. Not me, not I. But anyway, as far as their relationship, as far as going back to their relationship, the power imbalance there is glaring. Because he could have fired her at any moment. We saw how hard he worked to make her, quote unquote, make her. So, you know, giving her these different interview opportunities, setting her up with these people to help her write a book, getting her up on these talk shows and this and that. Like, Jason was helping to upgrade her life in a way that we don't fully know how comfortable she was with that, right? So there's that power imbalance, but then there's also that element that, okay, if he gets mad at me, he can take that away. Them same people that he called to get that interview down there at this day thing, what is this called? A talk show. The same people that he called Kelly Clarkson to get me in with, he can call them and get me out. He can tell Drew Barrymore that I will not be there tomorrow. He can do that very easily. And it's kind of just a blessing that he doesn't, because he could have very easily have done it. And who was she going to run to? You know what I'm saying? Like, who was she going to turn to in that moment? Because he's at the top of the chain. He literally owns the paper. He doesn't just own, like, he's not just like her supervisor. That is literally, he owns the entire shtick. So it's like, at that point, she probably have to like press charges or something, or sue him. So you see what I'm saying? Their relationship could have gotten ugly very quickly had he been a different caliber of person. I'm not giving him props. I'm not giving him props by being like, well, he was so good because he didn't turn on her. I'm not saying that. I am saying that situation could have been very different. And it's a good thing for her that it wasn't. And we just leave it at that. So it's like, I address that to say that their relationship, again, was built on something that was shaky. And her and Cole were built on literally a lie, right? Now, her and Cole have a kind of an interesting dynamic to where, kind of akin to like Piper and Leo to me, where because they're both magical, they both have a status, right? They both have a magical status. However, Piper and Leo are different from Phoebe and Cole because Leo is the god, right? So he's the one that holds the magical information. I don't know, because Piper and Phoebe are both a powerful witch. So magically, like in terms of magic, they are able to hold themselves. They hold that certain status. But Leo is the god. He holds that status in their life where he could withhold information. He could whatever. Even though he was rarely giving them information anyway. He wasn't a good white lighter to me. But that's a different discussion for a different day. But then you get Cole, who is a powerful demon and a powerful force of evil. So him and Phoebe are equal in different ways. But then when Cole becomes, yeah, numbers going down, it's time to get on up out of here probably. Can y'all see me? Okay, wait. Like, can y'all see me now? Okay, now you can see me. Okay, good. Good. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Baby, I'm telling you, I started talking so good. I didn't know what was going on. Okay. All right. We all back now. All right. Cool. Cool beans. So everybody can hear me. Everybody can see me. We're not having any issues with that anymore. We're all G to G. Before I get to talking. Okay. Good here. Okay. So, Phoebe and Cole's relationship has a good majority of the time where there's an imbalance. So either Phoebe is the one with more power or Cole is the one with more power when he turns into the source, right? So when he's the source, not only is he magically probably a little bit more powerful than her specifically, but also he has this status as king of the underworld or ruler of the underworld that can literally destroy her because she is but in a weird way, she also has power too because people are seeing him as being weak because of her. So they're at this weird imbalance and they just like Phoebe and Cole are just constantly at odds. They, to me, are star-crossed lovers. They're not meant to be. They're not meant to be, and they burn so hot when they're together, but they're not meant to be together in the long term. They're just not. And and I think that that's such a huge part of her relationship that when she gets with Jason, we rarely ever see her really talk about the fact that Jason is her boss. We never really see it brought up. We never really, but when it is brought up, it's more of like a cute little like, oh yeah, well, Jason set me up with these people. And it's like, huh, huge perk to dating your boss. You know, kind of like it's cute or like it's fun. And you can see, I feel like at times that Phoebe does not necessarily want that. But she's in a weird position. They keep saying it in season 4, how she's always using barriers to keep Cole at a distance. Exactly. Yes, exactly. And it's like her relationship with Jason, like I said, they address it, but it's never brought up in a way that is meaningful, something that would open the door to actually have discussion. That's just me. They just leave it kind of surface level. And so you do get people who don't like Jason, right? You get people who don't like Jason. You get people who don't like Coop. You get people who don't like the different men that Phoebe would date. But Cole is the one who typically people say is her soulmate. She should have been with him forever. And I think that defeats the purpose of their relationship, really, because you know how I said earlier that I feel like Cole was in her life to help us usher in the change from like young Phoebe to adult Phoebe. I think that because they did have such an intense relationship, that's why people confuse it with being soulmates, confuse it with being in game, confuse it with being those things, because Cole was meant to teach her a lesson. And the funny part of it is, the funniest part to me, the most ironic part to me is the very thing that we are supposed to learn from Cole and Phoebe as a couple is the very thing that people don't do, rather. It's like the whole point of her relationship with Cole, to me, is learning to let go, is knowing that something can feel good, but it's not right. It is being invested in something and still knowing that it's not something that's going to prosper in your life. And that's what makes it so funny to me when people are like, I'm gonna block this Bianna person. I'm not sure who that is, but I want to go out of my way to say that I'm gonna block and mute them, because I can't, like, I'm not gonna have people going back and forth with my moderators, number one. And then number two, we're not doing, if you have an opinion, that's fine, but we're not gonna go back and forth with people and try to tell people that they're wrong for it. And anyway, so to me, that's the most ironic part of their whole relationship, is you never get that like the thing that we're supposed to get from it, the thing that Phoebe gets from it, is not what the fans get from it. And it's almost funny to me, because why would you want her to be in something that was not good for her? There was nothing Cole brought to her life. I'm sorry, there wasn't. Not in a long-lasting, meaningful way that would have required him to be there in his presence. And that can be said of any relationship, but their relationship specifically, even she acknowledges that their relationship was hell, because it was. Their relationship was literally hell, not even figuratively. Their relationship was literally filled with the evils of hell coming after them. And it's just interesting to see people fight for that to be in game, because what it feels like is, sometimes when I see that, it feels like they want Phoebe to stay stuck because they want to stay stuck. And I use the word stuck specifically because if Phoebe hadn't been with Cole, she still would have been that same little girl trying to run towards a love that did not exist and that would only hurt her in the end. And her going through such a hard, demanding time was, I don't want to say necessary. I don't want to say necessary. Helped her. It really helped her to get to that next point where she knew when to let go. Where she knew when, okay, let me not throw myself fully into X, Y, and Z, because it's not going to be the fairy tale that I want it to be. And now my opinion about this is literally my opinion. If you don't like, I'm not going to ever tell somebody that they need to change their point of view. That's just my perspective on their relationship when watching this show, is that Phoebe, this relationship with Cole was supposed to teach her to let go. It was supposed to teach her how to be her own person. And that's why, again, moving into season 5, Cole can't let go. Cole literally cannot let go of this woman, to the point where he starts collecting powers in the demonic wasteland, and he becomes an abomination of an individual who is just a kibosh of random powers that he absorbed. He is invincible, but he wants to go on to the next life. He's tired of being here. He can't, the one thing, and yes, I call Phoebe a thing. I do not call I call her a person in his life, because she wasn't a person. Phoebe was a thing to him, and he couldn't have that. And I think that's why Centennial Charmed is so important in closing out their story. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I used to think that was a really sloppy ending, because I was like, okay, girl, whatever. But then I realized, like, no, it's important to show and not tell. Because I used to be so critical of Charm because they would tell us and not show us. But they actually showed us and didn't just tell us. Oh my God, I don't know how words work. But for reasons that we've gotten into with Piper, that we'll get into more with Paige tomorrow, the episode was significant there. But as far as Phoebe, let's think about this. Phoebe completely lost. We said earlier that Phoebe had lost herself in this man, right? Even though that's a Paige-centric episode, Phoebe was so almost irrelevant to the story that she was just there. Piper, we had this whole thing with Piper and seeing how she was like this femme fatale. She was on her poom poom. Like, our girl was out here iron and leather clad, cutting up in the streets of San Francisco. And we got a chance to see how different her life was. Phoebe did not have that. Phoebe was just there. Phoebe was literally just there, child. She was just existing. It was nothing, like, of course, she was under Cole's dominion, whatever you want to say. He had taken over her house, the Nexus, whatever else. But Phoebe was just there. Phoebe was literally just existing in that reality. And the significance of that is that Phoebe had always loved life. Phoebe always loved the next adventure. She always loved what came next. She always loved practicing magic and being herself and going into her job, and she loved like these new things that were happening. But here, Phoebe was smoking. Phoebe was pulling out Slim 100s, okay? She was pulling out her Marlboro and was up there living her best life in the kitchen, child. This woman had cigarettes in the dang bread box with no bread. My baby, Phoebe Sharkeisha Halliwell, was standing up in the kitchen, child, smoking out a bread box. That was the highlight of her day. Was getting a smoke. That was the highlight of her day. That was it. Phoebe, who has always been very self-reliant. Phoebe, who's always been able to take care of herself, who's always been quick to action. When Paige came up in there, what did she do? She said, guards. She grabbed the cooking utensil that she grabbed, and she had it like this, and she was calling for the guards. Phoebe, box a bitch Phoebe, who we literally saw walk into a kitchen where Shadow was, and my girl got to boxing and throwing hands. Mama was too pretty to fight. She said, She didn't even have a luster in her no more, child. She said, whatever. She said, if they take me out, they take me out. She said, I'm going to just call for the guards, and whatever happens after that happens. So that's what I mean when I say Phoebe had lost herself. She literally was a shell of the Phoebe that we love. She was so downtrodden and broken. And that's why she was so shocked when Cole comes in there trying to hug her and kiss on her. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Oh, y'all, my babe, Savage Bartender. I didn't say babe. You didn't hear me say that, but my babe, sorry, Savage Bartender is here. But no, we see this woman literally as a shell of herself. And so that's why when we get that episode is a lesson in, and that's why every time someone says like that's her soulmate, he's in game for her, and he this and he that, I just think about that episode and how things turned out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think about him hitting her, and not just from the perspective that he hit her, which is really its own discussion. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really its own discussion. But also the fact that as bad as their relationship has ever been, as bad as even the times when they were arguing and fighting, even when this man was the source of all evil, and she really was about to get them folks taken up out of there, he still never put his hands on her. Never. He still didn't put his hands on her. And the fact that in this reality, he hit her unexpectedly, and she didn't even flinch. She didn't be like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I don't want you, I don't want you, I don't want you, I don't want you. She didn't turn into that. She was just like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? That's sad. That's sad. And that's what I mean when I say that their relationship was not meant to last. Because no matter what, that's what their relationship was going to turn into. That's what their relationship had turned into. Excuse me. That's what their relationship was. It was never meant to be something that was going to blossom into this beautiful love. It was meant to end. And Phoebe making the choice to save him went against that grain, went against that lesson. But then Phoebe choosing to let him go and vanquish him was her learning that lesson and going with it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's what I mean. Their relationship was there for that specific reason. I don't know. So, you know, Phoebe's... God. Ugh. That took a long... I knew that was going to take a long time to talk about. And I feel like I know there's something that I didn't talk about. I know there's something... So we talked about... Okay, so yeah, let's talk about that maybe a little bit more. And the reason that Phoebe didn't let go of Cole, right? For so long. In the same way that Phoebe gave Cole that hope that he could be redeemed, he gave her that hope that one day she could have a full family. Because even though, yeah, she had her, and I'm not discounting and saying like, oh, her family wasn't her family. What I'm saying is Phoebe wanted a nuclear family. She wanted to be able to go to the daddy-daughter dance. She wanted to be able to ask her parents for money for homecoming. Like, Phoebe wanted that. And if she couldn't have that, she was determined she was going to give it to her children. And Phoebe wanted that in her life. And Cole almost gave it to her because, okay, and I'm gonna tell y'all right now, don't. That baby was Phoebe's baby. And it's fine that the show told us, because if one more person tells me, well, actually, if you watch the show, they actually tell us that the baby wasn't actually Phoebe's. No, baby. No, baby. That's not what the show said. The seer said the baby was hers. The seer was saying that from the baby, the moment the baby was conceived, she was going to take the baby. That's what the seer was saying. That's what the seer was saying, my love, was that she was going to steal the baby from the moment it was conceived, because that was always her plan, darling. You know what I'm saying? That was always going to be the plan. So that's why she said from the moment that the baby was from the moment he was conceived, that baby was mine. That's why my girl said that. She said that to let us know she was going to snatch it as soon as she could. Soon as she could, she was going to snatch it. And I think that the show tried that mine. But I think that the show tried to distance itself because listen. Y'all know what the A word is here. And I've seen some people bring this up, and I think that's a really good point. The show did not want us to realize that Phoebe was getting a magical, essentially was what just happened, was that. And I think they wanted to distance themselves from that. So it was like, oh, the baby wasn't hers. And then, she's not even really connected to it because it was always a pit of evil and da-da-da-da. But in the realm of Phoebe, we know how Phoebe is. Phoebe disassociates. Phoebe is a person who runs away from what she's feeling. She runs away from what's facing her in that moment. And it makes perfect sense that Phoebe would say, that baby wasn't mine. The baby was pure evil. And just leave it at that. And whatever y'all, I feel like Phoebe was thinking when she was talking to Piper and them, like, girl, whatever y'all want to do with that is what you want to do with it. The baby, that wasn't mine. Shut up, Brittany. Shut up. But no, but it's like that for me is one of those moments where I think the viewers trying to say like, well, actually in the show, and it's like, no, baby, that has a much deeper meaning. Much deeper meaning than what we're giving it. And then sort of on, I guess, more towards the surface level, but not really. It's more on a deeper level. But Phoebe, let's just, for the sake of this argument, say that this baby was not hers, right? Biologically or magically or whatever the case is, right? Let's just say, for the sake of this discussion, that baby was not Phoebe's. Phoebe had bonded with that baby, whether she wanted to admit it or not. But more than bonding with him, she had bonded with the idea of being a mother. More than anything else, Phoebe had accepted in her mind that she was going to be somebody's mother. And she was scared, but excited. She wanted that. Because again, that went into that part of her that wanted that family unit. That went into that part of her who wanted to start a family. It went to that, and she had to accept that. And then that got snatched away from her very quickly. Phoebe was not even Phoebe wasn't even 3 months pregnant when that happened, right? Like, I'd have to go back and look at the episode count, but Phoebe was probably only like a month pregnant. If the lady was fresh pregnant. Fresh. The cum had the sperm had just landed. So it's like our girl was fresh. You know what I mean? Phoebe was not showing. That lady was not showing. There was nowhere that lady was showing. I'm sorry. Now, usually I get whatever. That woman was not. That woman still had a flat 6-pack. Because one thing about Alyssa, when that 6-pack came in, baby, she did not lose it. My girl had a 6-pack the whole time, that whole 16 minutes that she was pregnant. Bib, yeah, the seer showed for some reason, for some very strange reason, the seer was showing, but I think that was more so because the baby was moving around, and maybe the way it was like they filmed those belly scenes after lunch. Listen, I feel like she didn't even eat. She was like, y'all ain't gonna catch me slipping. She said, y'all ain't finna catch me slipping, child. Let me stop. But no, she, that's why that time of her life is so significant. She lost Cole, but she also lost the family she thought she was going to have. She lost a baby. She lost her hope at the moment of being a mother. She lost this connection that she had. Like, she lost that. And then Piper immediately turns around and is pregnant, girl. That's why, like, I just wish season 5 had gone in deeper, because season 5 was the perfect moment to explore how Phoebe was feeling. Because, girl, that lady, I couldn't even imagine. I just lost my baby and my husband and all of that, and now I gotta help you pick out colors for your See, I feel like my passive aggressiveness would have come in, and I would have been like, I can't. I'm at work today. They'd be like, baby, you literally don't have a job. And I'd be like, your mama don't have a job. Now what? I couldn't do it. But the fact that Phoebe threw herself into it, that's what Phoebe does. Phoebe throws herself into things. Phoebe throws herself into whatever. In the moment, she gets excited, and that's how she was coping, from my perspective, with the fact that that should have been what she was planning. That should have been her planning her baby shower. She should have been planning her nursery. She should have been trying to figure out what school her child was going to. She should have been figuring out what color she wanted for her baby book. She wanted those were things that she was supposed to be doing in that moment, but she couldn't. And that's why she got so invested in Piper as a pregnant woman. And then when Wyatt got there, she was so invested in that child that even Jason was confused. Jason was like, okay, so is that your baby? And when she said no, he was like, okay, so what's the deal? I'm confused. Jason was like, I don't get it. I'm not understanding. If that's not your baby, why are you doing all this? Oh, well, it's my nephew. You think you finna get maternity leave for a nephew? Girl, bye. That woman didn't even want them naming the baby without her there. And even though by the end of the episode, she accepts the fact that she is not Wyatt's parent, it still never explored. She doesn't get a chance to go into why she lost herself in that child like that. She does not get that opportunity. And I think that was such a missed chance. I really think that would have been a good moment for her to bond with one of her. Like, her and Piper already bonded, but because Paige was having her issues about the baby, about the baby being born, and it was bringing up old stuff for her, I think that would have been a good bonding moment between them. For Phoebe to say to her, like, you know, I just thought I'd be picking out my strollers right now. And Paige kind of be like, girl, what the fuck are you talking about? You know? And she'd be like, well, this is around the time when my baby would be born. And then Paige just kind of be like, oh. Because it didn't even occur to her. Because again, Paige looked at that baby like a demon. Girl, Paige didn't care about that baby. Paige didn't care about that baby. Paige didn't care about Cole. Paige didn't care. And Wyatt was an abomination. He was. But Paige didn't care about that baby. And it would have, I think, been kind of a slap in the face to be like, for Phoebe, for us as an audience, think about how impactful it would have been for Phoebe to be talking to Paige about this. And Paige did not realize that this will be around the time her baby would be born. Then we realize Phoebe, no one else realized it either. Piper didn't realize it. Leo didn't realize it. None of her friends realized it. Nobody thought about it because it was like it was just over. And in that moment, she's been mourning this whole time by herself because nobody remembered. Now, baby, you can't tell me that wouldn't have ate. You can't tell me that wouldn't have been a good storyline. You can't tell me that wouldn't have ate. Now listen, I'll take a lot of criticism on stuff. But when I be writing little moments like that, I already know. I feel like I be knowing. I feel like I write well. I just need to figure out how to write, if that makes sense. I want to be an author, but I feel like I need to figure out how to, because baby, that would have been a good moment. And I think that would have been a good way to open the door to fleshing out Paige. And maybe Paige can share with her that, she didn't notice because she's been thinking about what happened when she was a baby, or when she was being born. And Phoebe, just like in the same way, be like, Phoebe, what are you talking about? Paige, what are you talking about? And Paige opens up to her and is like, I've seen pictures of, your mom's baby showers with you and with this and with that and da-da-da-da. But there's none of that with me. I don't have any pictures in the baby books. I don't have any pictures in the photo albums. There's nothing of, like, the whole year that she was pregnant with me is like there's a blank. And then Phoebe go back and be like, I never realized that there weren't any pictures when we went to the zoo or when we went to this or when we did that. And I only remember because Prue told me about it. And they can bond over the fact that it's like they're not there. It's like they're not there. A whole 9 months before Paige was born is gone. She doesn't know what happened. Phoebe heard about what happened, but there's no pictures of it. She doesn't remember it herself. So she can't even say like, oh, well, we used to da-da-da-da. It's like, it's just gone. And then they can bond over the fact that for Phoebe, this is that time of her life where it just feels like it's just time that's gone. Except once the time ends, there's not going to be a baby. So, girl, deep, right? Like, that's a moment. That is a moment that you can expand on the entire season. That is a moment. You can even get into, maybe that's why Phoebe loses her sense of hearing when she whatever, right? Is she can see everything around her and she can see everything that's in front of her and what's coming and what she wants to run towards. But there's nothing around here. Nothing. She got nothing. Because she's not hearing. She's running towards this beautiful tree, but she's not hearing the people that are telling her, stop, there's a snake behind the tree. Girl, oh my God, girl, where is my Emmy for the writing? Where is the Emmy for the outstanding writing? Oh my God, baby, it's giving outstanding writing team of 2024. That's what it's giving. And I'm gonna tell you this, if they start a reboot and I hear anything that I done said over here, I'm suing because baby, I'm suing. Because where's my award? Where's my Grammy? Where is it at? So tell me right now. CBS? Where is my Emmy? Anyway, Phoebe has so much going on. It's like, what time is it? It is 9:15, and we still haven't even touched Coop. They do have to pay me first, exactly. We still haven't even touched Coop. Jesus, okay, wow. Do we need a stretch break? Everybody take a stretch break for a second. Let's take a stretch break. Okay. Because my God, y'all, we've been cutting up. I didn't even realize it. We have been eating. But that's what I mean when I say, like, Phoebe's story is so involved. And Phoebe's story is so deep and so, I think, layered that it takes forever to talk about it. Like, it takes forever to just really dive into it because there's so many pieces and there's so many parts to who they are. And it just, child, oh my God. That's why I love talking about this show. Because, baby, especially once I get to talking real good, oh my God. Oh my God. Once I get to talking, that's a wrap. Whew, I'm trying to stretch, child. For those of you that are new here, I have arthritis. And so, baby, sometimes when I get up, I be feeling like I'm about to just get up out of here, child. So, if you hear, it sounds like Reptar is stomping through the city. That's just me lifting up my legs, trying to work my circulation, child. Okay. All right. Ooh. And I'm feeling good. Okay. It does. It feels like Reptar, child. Aw. Thank you, friend. Thank you, my Pagiana. Charmed Babe 25. Thank you, my Pagey. But, yeah, y'all. So it's like, aw. Thank you, friend. But yeah. So, let's get into Coop. Child, because I done talked enough about Cole. I feel like there's so much more I could actually say about Cole. And I just feel like if I go any deeper into Cole and their relationship and whatever else, child, I'm gonna blow a gasket. So let's just move on. And God, I do want to bring up Miles. I want to bring up Miles because Miles was a good transition period for her. Because what did Phoebe do on a more concentrated level that she did with Cole? She threw herself fully into that man. And just like with Cole, it could have destroyed her. Just like with Cole. Because she threw herself into a man trying to save him in a way that she could not save Cole. And there's a future where it took her out. Good lesson. You see how that lesson got drilled into us as viewers? If you keep trying, you're going to lose yourself one way or another. And that's why Miles was another important thing because Phoebe did it again. And sometimes after we do something, we go back and we do it because we haven't quite learned the lesson. We haven't quite figured out that that's not what we want to do or what we should do. We don't quite know that just yet. But that's why that was a good little moment with her. I think that taught her because even by the end of the episode, she was cooling. She was cooling because it was easier for her to let go this time because she knew she had done what she needed to do. That's the thing. She knew that she did all she could possibly do. I tried to save him. It wasn't meant to be. And now I'm just going to move on with my life. Boom. It echoes what she told Cole. It just wasn't meant to be. Just wasn't meant to be. Anyway. We've already kind of talked about Jason. I really can't. her and Jason, let's just move on to her and Coop. Let's move on to her and Coop, because he's the one I haven't touched, because he is the least, I don't know. Do you think Piper ever told Phoebe about Miles? Probably not. I feel like she kept it. I feel like if she did tell her, it was like way later down the line. I feel like it was way, way, way later down the line. Coop. I always get on the fence about Coop, because Coop is a character that I really would like to say that I have thought critically about, and that I see a different angle, and I do see different things about him. But at the end of the day, I think Coop was just a bow on a package. I think that no matter what you boil it down to, no matter how you try to whatever, I could sit here and I could add in all the complexities that I want to, and I could try to make it cute, and I could make it this, and I could make it that. I love Coop as a character. Oh, I love Coop as a character. Please don't get me wrong. But Coop was a bow on a box. He was a ribbon that was tied neatly on a present. And that's it. He served a purpose. Charmed was really bad about writing men on the show who served a purpose, and Coop was one of them. He was there for a reason. And that was to make sure that Phoebe got a good ending. That was why he was there. That was why he was there. I do agree that I probably would have brought in the first Cupid that was there. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't think it was that cute. I really don't think it was that cute. But Phoebe did for some reason, child. She loved herself, that man. So I sound okay. Well, you do what you gonna do, my love. Because hey, wow, that's something. That is absolutely something. But Coop to me was somebody that she never even got a chance. Phoebe did not. That is true, baby. That is true. Phoebe did not discriminate. She had fine men. She had men that looked like him. Now, I can only go so far in that discussion, because I'm up here looking like an 8-ball. So it's, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting up here looking like you're going to shake me real quick, and I'm just going to tell you yes or no, or check back later. So there's really only so far that I can go in saying somebody is not fine. And you take from that information what you want to take from it. But yeah, Phoebe just always seemed like she had like a specific type, and he just didn't seem like he was that type. But hey, she loved that man child. Billy didn't seem like he would be her type, but she loved that man child. So I'm girl, maybe there really is somebody out there for me. Maybe I just need to find Phoebe Halliwell in real life. Maybe I just need to find me a Phoebe. Maybe this is my hetero era. I mean, my God. But anyway, no. But for real, visually, Coop is the person that I could see her being with, but he didn't like. And it's not. Here's the thing: it's not him as a character in the way that like, oh, he just was a horrible character. He literally was boring. You know what I mean? Like, he was just there. He didn't have any characteristics. He didn't have. He didn't have. It's in the same way with Dan, where like if you really try to describe Dan, you can't, because Dan didn't have characteristics. He was written to be a person that Piper connected with. That was it. So Dan did not have characteristics other than loyal, sweet, good with kids, whatever they needed him to be in that episode, right? Coop is the same exact way. People just love him more because he wasn't an obstacle to anything. He wasn't an obstacle to Phoebe's true love. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, he has the same problem. No, okay, so I want to say, okay, so let me address what Sammy is saying, because I think this is a very good point. This is a very, very good point. Boring is good for, Notice that I can't pin the comment, child. Boring is good for some people. Some people do need boring. When I say boring, I don't mean as a person. I mean as a character. I mean as like a character that is written on paper. He is not really anything. He, to me, is just a ball of what the show needs him to be, which is fine sometimes. But for me, that's not the person that I would put that character with in the long run. Because to me, at a certain point, it's like, okay, so we see how they've connected right now, but like in the long term, how is that going to work? You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's what I mean when I say like Coop was a boring character, because he had no nothing. Like it wasn't even just that he was very enthusiastic. Like his characteristics were amazing. Right? So he was sweet, he was gentle, he was kind, he was understanding, he was enthusiastic, he was very charismatic. He had amazing qualities, but he had no substance to his character. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, he had no substance as a character. He wasn't a character. He was just a ball of random things thrown together, of random characteristics and qualities that we needed in the moment, so that it would work, so that we would trust them, so that we would be like, oh, I love that for Phoebe, when literally all they had to do was come at the beginning of the season and have him meet her. That's it. We literally could have just had him meet her at the beginning of the season and we would have been fine. Not even in season 7. I'm not even going to go so far as to say season 7. We could have had her meet him at the beginning of the season. You low-key could have even had maybe him be watching her when she started to get with Dex. Here's the thing. I don't think necessarily that when I say brought him in at the beginning of the season, I don't mean bring him in to her, but you could have brought him in to see us. You know what I mean? We as the audience could have gotten to know him. We as the audience could have been like, oh, dang, this man will be a good fit for Phoebe. And he's a Cupid too. So then it would prompt us to go back to thinking about season 2 and the Cupid that Phoebe fell for before. And you could start to, maybe you could reminisce a little bit on Billy and how in season 2 we see how Phoebe's view of love is shaped around these impossible things. And then we start to associate that. So by the time Phoebe meets him, we are itching for her to fall for him, because we've seen this character that he is and we just want them to be together. We want her to be happy. But it's like, good night, Trinell. But it's like, no, that's not what they gave us. When that man said, this is what Charmed would do. That would just really tick me off beyond words. The elder sent me to you. Girl, bye. Goodbye. Bye. Goodbye. What was the point of saying that? The elder sent me to you. Huh? They what? They did, huh? Well, who? Because it almost gives this impression that, like, Phoebe was just this lost cause. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that that's what they said. I don't think that's what they said. I don't think that that's what they implied. I don't think that that's anything I don't think that's anywhere near what they were going for with that. But it almost gives off like Phoebe is such a lost cause child that the elders had to send her a man. The elders had to get a girl a man because she been through so much. She ain't never gonna find a good one. So child, we literally have to give her a being of love just so she can have a man. Because baby, she'll never get one the way she's going. And it's like, what? Why are the elders playing God? Because I'm going to be 100% honest with you. My personal assumption especially after everything they had been through with the elders. My personal assumption would have been that they were sending Coop in to be a spy. That would have been absolutely my assumption, is that he was there to watch us, to monitor us, to make sure that we weren't too out of control. He was going to be reporting back to them. He's their flunky. Like, I literally would have assumed that that is why they were choosing to give me a man. Y'all sent us a unicorn when Magic was about to go out, because you wanted us to have access to Magic. And now you sending me a man? Girl, bye. You can keep him. You can keep him. I'm good. I'm good. I'll just get on Bumble. I'll get on Hinge and hope for the best. Because ain't no way I'm finna take a man from the elders. There's no way. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. None whatsoever. In this world, there is no way. And that's why I don't know. I think a full circle moment for Phoebe would have been her being single, her not getting married. But I think their way of not turning her into Grams was for her to get married and stay married and find love. Because we literally have seen Phoebe be Grams. We've seen it. Like, we literally saw Phoebe turn into Grams. We have actually seen a version of Phoebe in the future who was Grams. So it's like, we know it could be done. And that's why I think that her and Grams are so similar. They both have that tenacity for life. They both have that quest and that thirst for love. And it could corrupt them, honestly. And that's why Phoebe, that's another thing I think. Oh, hey, Claire. Good night, Claire. I'm sorry. Child, when I get to talking, child, I'll be half paying attention. But yeah, Phoebe is a character who, Grams was the cautionary tale, and Phoebe was what happens when you listen to the caution. Phoebe was what happens when you don't let the passion consume you and turn you bitter. Phoebe is what happens when you chase passion and you keep yourself open to it instead of closing it off but still wanting it. Because that's what Grams did. That's why Grams had so many husbands. That's why Grams was still knocking boots in the afterlife with the necromancer. Grams wanted passion. She loved it. She loved those feelings and the intensity of it. But she was scared of what it could do to her. Phoebe was scared, but she knew it was worth the risk. And that's why Phoebe will always be charmed. This was good. I think we had a good discussion tonight. I think that we had a very good discussion tonight. I really do. I do think that there's some stuff that I did not get around to. I feel like there's a lot of stuff I left out. I don't know. I feel like there's some stuff that I don't know. I didn't get a chance to talk about her relationships with her sisters. That's the big thing. I'm gonna be honest with you, child. I don't feel we just gonna have to come back to that another night. Cause tonight ain't the night that I feel like going in all that. I think we've hit a good natural stopping point. So, my God. Kinda. Yeah, I feel like I kinda did. And welcome back, Cheryl Lynn, by the way. I feel like I kinda went into that. So I'm satisfied. I think tonight went really well, and I hope that you loved my TED Talk tonight about the character of Phoebe Sharkeisha Halliwell. I really do. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you were thoroughly entertained. I hope that your cup was running over with entertainment. I hope that you come back. Tomorrow, we're going to be having our discussion about Paige. You know, Paige is my babe. Paige is my girl. Hey, Amy. Oh, how was it? How was it meeting Holly? You're welcome, Hannah. I really did enjoy tonight. I love doing deep dives. I love doing deep dives. And I'm so excited that this is something that we decided to do because, oh, God. So Kayla, actually, and this goes for everybody, I'm going to be uploading this to my YouTube. So the one that we did for Prue is on there. The one that we did for Piper is on there. Our discussions about like the previous seasons, because previous seasons, Gavin, what are you talking about, baby? But I did one on each season for the most part, and those are all on there. There's a playlist for them, so you can go check that out. My YouTube is They Call Me Mr. G. It is in my bio. You can just hit a button while you're there. Subscribe to my YouTube if you so can, if you so choose to, if you want to support me. If you don't, I mean, still subscribe. Just even if you hate me, subscribe. Just do it. Do it because I said so. This will probably be up. I'm gonna try to probably upload it tomorrow. None to get you 10. I don't make any promises, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna really try to upload it tomorrow. And then tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central, we'll be here to talk about Paige. So. Y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna log on off. And if you followed me tonight, I will be following you back. Sometimes you just gotta give me a little minute because, child, you know, it'd be a lot happening in the live. And so if I didn't see you, like, follow me, it's not because I was ignoring you, darling. It's just, you know, I gotta get my bearings. So. I'll see you hussies tomorrow for Paige Latanya Matthews. And we will be having our talk. Bye, you guys. I hope you have a good night.